Hello everybody, welcome to another Valheim video. Today we're going to be learning all about using Ashwood decoratively when you build in Valheim. We'll be covering some different window options, including a big window, and a more discreet little window, and shelves. I didn't even know we could make shelves until I started researching for this video, but we can make shelves. Then we'll move on to the floor itself, because you can very easily make some really cool looking patterns with these decorative Ashwood floors. And from there, we'll cover using the dividers as if they're banners. And finally, we'll find out what it is that makes the Ashwood staircase the only one of its kind. I'm going to assume that you already have Ashwood, or that you're not interested in learning about how to get it. We're going to focus entirely on how to build with it. Ashwood is a very special building resource because just with a little bit of Ashwood, you get loads of new build pieces that really enhance the decorative capacity of your build. We'll start simple with basic box building, which is where most people start in Valheim. One of the things that makes Ashwood so special is it's really easy to take a basic box frame and then start swapping bits and pieces of it out with Ashwood to make some kind of pattern. You'd be surprised how little effort it takes to make something that looks pretty cool. We'll start with making some basic decorative windows. This one's really easy to do because you can just take out a wall piece and then just replace it with an Ashwood piece, and you've already done most of the work at this point. Personally, I think that these bigger pieces look better with some trim. So we're just going to outline the window, and there you have a very basic window that gives some definition to an otherwise plain box house. And speaking of trim, it's worth paying attention to trim in general, because it can be a really easy way to add more definition to whatever you're building. You usually will use these wall pieces, so you might consider outlining them or trimming them in either Ashwood or the normal wood. Here you can see the different impacts that the window has if you trim it in wood. It makes it feel more solid, like it has a window frame. But the glorious thing about trim is you can adjust it to your own needs. So maybe you feel like, okay, I don't have to trim the whole thing, I could just trim the upper and lower sections. Or we can go for the opposite approach and just trim the sides, which in this case, I think this one looks better. It gives more of an open feel to the window while still getting that blockiness. But ultimately, it's all up to your personal preference, and that's what's so cool about Ashwood. Let's take this normal wall as an example. As is, it looks pretty bland. And we can trim in the existing pieces here, but come on, I mean, can you even tell that's there? It doesn't really grab much attention, does it? But if we were to do the same thing with the Ashwood pieces, you can see that it grabs a lot of attention. And you can use this to make various patterns if you want to add more dimension without adding a lot of complexity to a build. Let's say you want to do something for a smaller build, then you can use these wood half walls and then just use a teeny little bit of Ashwood. And then you get a nice looking window that sits in all snug. If you wanted, you could consider just adding some trim on the bottom. That also looks pretty good. Let's move away from windows and move on to actual door frames. What we're gonna do here is kind of make an entryway that isn't a door, but is the space for a door, right? That's a really easy one to do that looks quite nice. All you do is use these Ashwood arches here and you clip them into each other. Now this is the single size clipped version, but you can also imagine how you could actually just make a big archway like this. If you just want a more open part of your house that still separates rooms, this is a great way to do it. You can use these little arches to make a division. Enough about walls though, let's focus on the floors because this is one of the easiest ones to do that is quite satisfying. You can make all sorts of different patterns by alternating between the normal floor piece and the decorative Ashwood floor, like this. As you saw earlier in the video, the whole area was paved out with these, but this time I'm going to fill it out with a different pattern, because really you can do all sorts of different patterns just by alternating one piece to another. If you prefer a more checkerboard kind of look, you might go with something like this. Personally, this is my favorite look. I like it when there's one border along the edge of the room in normal wood, and then the center has this intricate design. For some reason, I just love that vibe. Speaking of vibes, people often use these decorative banners that give you a bit more comfort. I encourage you to imagine the Ashwood dividers as something similar. They're sort of like a decorative banner that you can place that really adds an interesting vibe. Personally, my favorite is to just use them in the corners. I really like how they look there. And speaking of decorative elements, you can actually use these floor things above you as well. Now, they're not going to give you shelter, so don't get too excited. But what we can do is make a drop ceiling. So we're going to find the snap point into the second roof, right? And now I'm just going to go all the way around here to trim it up. And then we're going to use this decorative window piece to go up and meet the roof, just like this, okay? And there we go. We've now broken up that sheer brown color, right? That can often happen with these really big box houses. Personally, this is one of my favorite things to do with Ashwood. I really like looking up at all the little twists and patterns, and especially this kind of black circle that's like knotted into it. I really love the design of these things. Before we get to the fantastic staircase that's very special for reasons I'm about to disclose, let's look at these wonderful Ashwood arched walls. These are some of the thinnest pieces in the game at the moment. They're quite useful. Don't underestimate them. You can use them by clipping them into the wall, and you'll see that a whole part of them will actually just disappear, making them even smaller. And you can probably already tell where this is going. These look like perfect shelf brackets, don't they? Well, they must have thought about that, because if you look at the Ashwood floor piece, and you just angle it a little bit to the side, boom, look at that, you get a lovely little shelf. Personally, I really like the shelf item here. I think it's something that's quite useful, even though I just discovered it recently. Because a lot of Valheim is enhanced if you have an ease of organization. You can more easily store stuff. And these items give us the ability to really easily make nice looking shelves, which will allow us to make more effective storage systems. And that's always nice, because Valheim definitely has a lot of storage. And you did it! Congratulations! You made it to the very end of the video, so you got to learn why the Ashwood staircase is so special. I know you probably figured it out already, because you're one of the smart people that goes to the end of the video, but I'll lay it out here just so you can see. We're just talking about stairs you can walk up without any jumping, alright? There's the Ashwood stair, normal stair, stone stair, black marble stair, and Grouston stair. Notice anything? Yep, you're right. It's the thinnest staircase. It's the only staircase that is the minimum profile, so you can just clip it into the wall, getting the ability to change your verticality without going into that valuable real estate in some of those smaller builds. Now, this is actually possible without using the Ashwood staircase. For example, I could just take a 1 meter beam here, and then use a staircase and use the snap point from that 1 meter beam to create the same thing. The problem is, we gotta deal with it on the other side as well. You know, in this case, maybe that's what you want, you know, maybe that's useful, being able to go in both ends, so to speak. But sometimes that can be prohibitive, so it's nice to have a narrower staircase. And you can see that the Ashwood staircase is essentially just a normal staircase cut in half that is then black. You'll find that short of using a stepladder, which makes you bump up and down, the Ashwood stairs is one of the most practical options for discrete verticality. So there you have it, you just learned a bunch of fancy tricks that you can use to make your box house look like a building masterpiece. Well, you know what I mean, right? Honestly, I'm overjoyed that you've been enjoying these videos about building, because building is one of the things that makes Valheim so special. So I want to show more people that you don't have to be some fancy builder. I mean, look at me, I'm just building basic stuff, and you can still have fun. And maybe we focus too much on the best of the best, and we need to be more relatable so that more and more builders can have a good time. Because after all, you don't need to be a builder to have fun building in Valheim. It's just another thing you can do, another adventure you can go on. There's no reason to be afraid, it's okay. If you want to see more Valheim videos like this, then consider supporting me on Patreon. It really encourages me and helps me keep the content coming. Alternatively, if you want to rent your own Valheim server, then consider using Zap Hosting, which is the affiliate host that I use and I've been using for multiple years. You can use my link, JP Valheim, and follow my tutorials. Alternatively, you could just like this video and subscribe to the channel, or you could like any other video about Valheim. Honestly, the scene really needs the hype. I love doing tutorials in response to requests from viewers. Sometimes some really interesting tutorials end up getting made that way that I never would have thought to make otherwise. So it's always worth commenting below. Let me know what your ideas are, especially if there's something that confuses you. Maybe I can make something that makes it more enjoyable or easier to understand. Until then, I wish you the best. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!